Welcome to the Mindset Architect podcast, where it's all about creating the life you want, the business you want, and making a real difference. Join us in unlocking the code to true success. And now your host, Tony Caliendo, Master Coach with Rethink Coaching.
Welcome to the Mindset Architect podcast, episode number 105. I'm Tony Caliendo, Master Coach here at Rethink Coaching. And as always, I just want to take a minute and acknowledge the fact that you're sharing your time with me. Time truly is our greatest asset, and the fact that you're willing to share your time with me truly does mean a great deal. So today, I want to make the best use of your time and talk about a topic that we really haven't discussed before, yet I think it's really important as we are moving throughout the year. We're starting to potentially look at the upcoming year and making some decisions. And what I want to talk to you about today is choosing the right more. And what I mean by that specifically, so for myself, I've witnessed this happening in different phases of my career or my life. And we are conditioned to say yes to doing things, to please people, to be a team player, to take the opportunity before somebody else takes it. There's a lot of reasons. And I've done this myself where I've said yes to something that my gut was telling me not to do, and I did it. And what I don't know is what all was blocked that would have come my way had I left the space for it to show up instead of saying yes to the wrong more. What I mean by that is it could be working with a client. It could be taking on a project. It could be saying yes to an event with friends. It can apply to all areas of your life. For me specifically, I have said yes to helping a client when I knew that it probably wasn't the best yes I was ever making. We maybe were a little bit out of alignment in our values. We were a little bit out of alignment in our personalities. And yet I did it because they were a referral from somebody that I really trusted and adored. And I was doing it really for them more than for the other person. What ended up happening is there's a little bit of resentment. I had a little bit of frustration. I left the calls feeling very depleted. And it all was because I said yes to the wrong more. The right more in that case would have been waiting and finding an appropriate client for my style, my schedule, my values. And that would have made the biggest difference. So where in your life have you said yes to the wrong more? I think it's really important that we start digging in and looking at it. So let's talk about this trap, the trap of more. It happens, and it happens really easily because society has glorified busyness and doing more as the path to success, or the example or the visual that we need to give to the world with how great we are because we busied ourselves with doing more. It really, though, is detrimental because it has a bunch of hidden cost with it. So in the example I gave you, there was some resentment, there was some frustration. I left the call a little depleted. Those are all things. Exhaustion, resentment, diluted focus can happen as a result of saying yes to the wrong more. So you might find yourself overcommitting. That's a big signal that you have said yes to the wrong more. You've overcommitted. You are in a space of being frustrated or burnt out or exasperated or just plain don't want to do it. And you have built up a great wall around yourself because you've said yes to the wrong thing. So just remember, it's not about doing more. It's about choosing the right more. I think we all benefit: clients, peers, friends, family, charities that you volunteer for. If you're saying yes to the wrong more and you're stuck in that trap of more, it's going to show. You're going to be so out of alignment that you'll feel it, they will feel it, and it will not be the best experience for anybody. Why do we say yes too often? That's the number 2 thing I want to talk about. We tend to say yes way too often. I think there's psychological reasons, right? Fear of missing out. You want to be a people pleaser. You have lack of boundaries. That's a big one. And by saying no, we might have triggers of guilt or obligation or belief that saying yes would improve my value, but no didn't. So there's a lot of reasons why we might say yes far too often. I also think it's a conditioned reflex. that we say yes quickly before we really take a moment and assess what we're saying yes to. For me, I know in the beginning of my career when I was given opportunities, and I was given some amazing opportunities, both in the hotel industry and when I was selling real estate to work on some projects in both industries, that I found myself saying yes because I didn't want to say no and let the opportunity go to somebody else. How crazy was that, right? I mean, I was so consumed with staying ahead and being the lead in my area, whether it was sales or operations or whatever it was. There was this fear of missing out, or this fear if I said no, the opportunity was going to go to somebody else. They were going to crush it and they were going to get ahead and they were going to get the accolades. And so I would say yes. So we say yes too often as a conditioned reflex. And the next time you go to say yes, I'm just going to ask you to pause for a moment and think about what we're talking about to make sure you're saying yes to the right thing. Again, saying yes to the wrong more is such a disaster for you, your business, your life, your family, everybody. There is a cost of the wrong more. That's the third thing I want to talk to you about. When we say yes to the wrong more, we're loading up on the wrong more. Again, burnout, mediocrity, loss of joy, that cost is huge. For every yes we say in our lives, in our business, we are potentially saying no to something else. And it might not be a conscious no. Like I've heard this before. When you say yes to something, you say no to something else. And I'm like, yeah, that's not really true. Yet it is in terms of you might be saying no or blocking something from coming into your world because you said yes. So in a sense, you are saying no to something. You may not be consciously aware of it. It may not even be on the radar screen, but the cost is it doesn't have space to show up because you filled your space with the wrong more. I really do believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly. I've experienced it. I've had my clients experience when we clear the space and we help them reorganize their business, their life to be really clear on what they're doing. Things show up. It's like it's magic. Things show up that weren't even on the radar screen. But because we allowed ourselves to be in the right position and we held the space open, great things happen. So there is a cost to the wrong more. Number 4, I think it's really important to define what is your right more. Your values, your goals, your vision, having clarity around those things is really critical when you're making a decision. So for me, we do this exercise at Rethink Coaching, and I'm happy to share it with anybody who is interested. We do this thing called a values elicitation. And we look at values through the lens of business, through the lens of relationships, through the lens of life. And it's not your moral compass values, like what you think is right and wrong. They're really your values that are in alignment with whatever category we're looking at. So most of the time we do it around business. And what shows up typically, like for me, and the top of my list is fun. That's a huge value for me through the lens of business. It's also a value in other areas. Fun is important. Money is important. I'm not going to lie. I love money. I don't make my decisions based upon the money. I make my decision based upon it meeting the values and what impact I can have. However, money is important to me, and it is one of my values, making and taking projects that provide an income. And freedom, flexibility, those are some other values that are really important to me. And so if I say yes to a project that's going to require that I be at my desk at a certain time, X amount of days a week, X amount of hours, I will be out of alignment with that. So I'm really careful when I say yes to a project that it's really in alignment with my values. The other thing it must be in alignment with are your goals. I mean, how simple is that? Yet the right more will always be moving you toward your goal, not away from, toward. So saying yes to the right client versus every client, choosing the right client that aligns with your strengths, choosing the right projects that align with your values. Those core values, long-term goals, all of those are really important to have clarity on in order for you to know what your right more would be. So I want you to think about this for a minute. I want you to get crystal clear that you are abundantly aware of what is important to you in terms of your values and your goals. That way, when opportunities present themselves, you are in a better space to say yes or no to doing that more. Number 5, filters and framework for choosing, right? There's filters that we need to use, right? It's in alignment with knowing your core values. Does this move me closer to my vision, or is it distracting me? Sometimes we say yes because we haven't done what we were supposed to do, and we don't have a healthy pipeline, or we don't have a client lined up next. So out of desperation or scarcity, we will say yes to the wrong more. So it's important that you can stop for a minute and just be really clear. Is it really moving me towards my vision? Is it a distraction? Is it creating energy? Is it draining energy? If I do this, how is it going to impact me at the end of the day? I always say a great filter or framework is, at the end of the day, if you end your day with as much, if not more energy than you started your day with, you're doing the right thing. You're in alignment and your filter is correct. It's filtering out what you shouldn't be doing and it's allowing in what's in alignment. So just know your values, know your vision, know that when you say yes to the right thing, your values will feel heard, you will experience growth, and most importantly, you're going to experience joy in what you're doing and where you're headed. I think, to me, joy is one of the big things that needs to be met in the filter that I use when I'm saying yes or no to something. Number 6, there's a power of a strategic no, right? Redefining no is an act of strategy. It's not selfishness. We really need to be okay with no. And one of the things I learned years ago, which made me laugh when I first heard it, yet it's really powerful, is no is a complete sentence. That I can say no to something and not have to give an explanation, not have to give a reason, not have to go into this long dialogue with whoever's asking me to do something or take on a project, and simply just say no. I find when I say no and then I feel the need to explain things, I really end up talking myself out of the no. I end up creating holes that would allow for a yes. And the person that I'm saying no to is observant of it, and they're going to push for me to do it. So just know that there's a power and there's a strategy in saying no. It is not selfish. It really is not. So no is probably my best script. If you feel the need to answer, you can simply say that given the situation, the opportunity is not in alignment with your vision, your goals, or your values. No judgment. However, I want to show up as the best version for me and for either the project or the person that you're asking me to deal with. And if I were to say yes, I would be out of alignment and it wouldn't be fair to the other party. I think it's really important that we own that and we let people know that it's really me. And if I were to say yes, I'm really betraying what's important to me. And in doing so, I'm going to show up in a very inauthentic way or completely out of alignment. I can think of a time that I said yes to a project way back in the day when I was in the hotel industry. And I knew it was completely out of line with my values in terms of it was in an area that I just didn't enjoy. Like my heart and soul was in sales. Yet I took opportunities in operations because I felt like if I said no to it, I was never going to get to my ultimate goal of being a general manager or a regional in the hotel industry. When in fact, that wasn't true. Plenty of people were able to do that and that held true. I did not. And I remember being in a specific role within the company I was working with. And this was after Marriott. And I can remember thinking to myself, why did I do this? Why did I say yes to this? I am completely out of my zone and area of excellence. And I'm not doing really any justice to the end user or the party that hired me because I said yes. And when I realized that, I was able to change things and get more in alignment. However, I went against myself. I went against my own judgment. And I can tell you, I was not happy. I wasn't experiencing joy. I was highly agitated. I was easily triggered because I was just constantly in the space of discomfort. And it wasn't uncomfortable, like I'm growing and learning uncomfortable. It was, I don't like this at all. And it is not what I want to be doing, yet I'm doing it for the wrong reason. So just know that there is a strategy for saying no. I also know this, team, and this might be happening to you. There's a saying, right? If you need something done, give it to the busiest person in the room. And I have been approached a lot, specifically recently, to do some work that, while it would be exciting at a different time in my career, right now, it would be detrimental to my vision, my goals, and my values. And I was able to say no. Now they were like, but if anybody can do it, it's you. We know we know your skill set. We know you got the whole thing. And I realized that I was that person that was the busiest person in the room. And they knew that if they gave it to me and I said yes, I'd get it done and get it done at a very high level. Yet the power that came from saying no, using that strategy to protect myself, was enormous. So just know it's okay to say no. And the other thing is, it's okay if you were to ask somebody or you were to engage about a sale or working with someone and they say no, it is all right to honor that. They might be doing exactly what you wish you were doing and say no because of values, goals, all of the above that we've talked about. So pay attention to that strategy. I think that's probably one of the most important things, is to know that the word no is a strategy. Number 7 is critical as well, and that's building your right more habit. Again, we live in a space that we've said more to a lot of things for advancement or for financial reasons, because we were in a position that we had to do it because we needed money. And we've trained our brain a lot of times to just say, yes, yes, yes. Okay, we've talked a little bit about this, but here's what I say is, start small and think about what you're going to do this week in terms of, is this the right more? I want you to think about this as a salesperson, entrepreneur, leader, whatever you're doing. There are certain activities that we do that are going to help us get to our goal. There are times, and I've done this with clients before, clients that are new into my schedule or in a group coaching program with me, that I've really challenged them to look at what they're doing and see if it's the right more. So for example, when I am in sales, cold calling is just not in my wheelhouse. It's not. I've sold my entire life based on relationship. I have sold my entire life on face-to-face interaction with human beings and been able to connect with people at a really high level. If you were to ask me to do cold calling or to door knock or to, talk to strangers basically in a way that I was either, circle prospecting or doing an activity, I would have, if I was forced to do it, could I? Yes. Would it be successful? No. I remember, back in my first year of real estate, the brokerage I was with offered this training program, and the whole program was around cold calling. And so you're calling for sale by owners, you're calling expireds, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying my right more, that doesn't have a space for it. And we were told we had to do it. So I paid for the class and I thought, well, I'm going to just see what happens. I'm going to give this a shot. And I did it for about 2 weeks. And then I left the program because it was so out of alignment with me. However, I knew if I said yes to the right more, open houses, networking, meeting people any way that I could, being at parties, whatever that looked like, that I was saying yes to the right more. So if I said no to cold calling, but I said yes to attending a business mixer, I was saying yes to the right thing. And I was building that muscle, right, of the right more habit, because it is a habit. So I would again just say, take a step back and look and see what you're doing and ask yourself, is it the right more? Like, I need more business, so I'm going to do this activity, this more activity. Is it the right more? If somebody were to approach you to do something, a project, co-sponsor or an event, whatever it is, I want you to realize that maybe you're doing some things out of old habits, old thoughts, and you're still operating out of the wrong more. I want you to build the right more habit. It's really important. And on the journey, you're going to be tempted to say yes when you know the answer should be a no. And I want you to just lean into the previous 6 things that we talked about and feel confident in saying no. and go and seek out the right more. For me, if I'm in a position that I need more clients, I'm going to go talk to more people. I'm going to do it face to face. I'm going to do it in social settings. I'm going to do it in networking. I'm going to do it in business mixers. I'm going to do it in organizations that I volunteer for. That's how I'm going to get there. I have built my right more habit so strong that I know what the right more is to do. So that is really important, that we don't fall prey to doing the wrong thing to get to the result that we want, because it's actually blocking you. So I do believe this, and I'm going to close with this because I want you to think about it for a second. When you say yes to something that you shouldn't, you are taking up space, right? You're taking up bandwidth. You're taking up room that the universe, God, whatever you believe in, can't deliver something else to you because you filled the space. The hole is full of water, can't take on any more water. You filled it up. And until you clear some of it out, it can't take on any more. I want you to understand that this is how business works. This is how life works. This is how relationships work. If you don't allow the space for the right more to show up, none of the other stuff that we talked about is going to matter. It's that important. I've experienced this. And when you develop that right more habit and you live in that space, the majority of the time, I'm not going to say it's 100%. Nothing in life is 100%. But when you do it the majority of the time, you enter this incredible space. I call it the flow. It's like when an athlete is a runner and after a certain pace, they just get into the flow and things are just happening. They're not thinking about, moving their legs. They're not thinking about their arms. They're not thinking about anything. They're just in the flow. Everything is happening almost on autopilot and things are showing up. That's where you'll get to when you learn to master the right more habit. You will be in flow state and things will show up that you didn't expect to show up. Random things will appear that are in alignment, not out of alignment. Things will appear, opportunities will emerge that you weren't even looking at or working toward. However, because you're in that state of flow, things are being drawn to you and filling in the space. So do your best. I know in different economic times, we tend to say yes to the wrong more just out of a scarcity mindset. And I know it's a big leap of faith to believe and trust that saying no is sometimes the best thing that you can do. And the right thing will show up shortly after you say no. It's holding that space of belief that it's possible and it's possible for you. I love the right more. It's a great way to live your life. If you want to live in abundance and joy, it's the direction to go. As always, team, if you have a question about this or anything else, please reach out to me. Tony@rethink.coaching.com is my email, probably the easiest way to find me. Or you can DM me on all of the social media outlets. And I'll send you a link to my calendar to schedule a free 1-hour strategy session with me. We can talk about this. We can talk about anything else. I just don't, if you're challenged right now and you're faced with some opportunity that you're finding frustration in, I just don't want you to be stuck. So please feel free to reach out. Until next week, think about your more, think about your values, think about your goals, think about your vision, and make sure that you're in alignment when you say yes to something and give yourself permission to say no. No is a complete sentence. Talk to you next week. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you must come check out the Mindset Architect Group Coaching Program. It's our monthly program where we explore the power of your mindset, help you identify what you truly want in business and life, and then help you reach those goals. Come check us out at rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. That's rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. We'll see you there.